Hi Tangle friends, welcome to my studio in Estes Park, Colorado. I'm Annie and I am a certified Zen-tangle teacher as well as a certified botanical illustrator. And the reason I like to start my tutorials that way is to remind you that yes, I'm teaching you a Zen-tangle pattern on this lunchtime tutorial, but I also want you to get something more from me, and that is I'd like to share with you what I learned as a classically trained botanical illustrator. And so we're going to do that today. We're going to combine learning the tangle of a delightful little tangle called Moonberry by CZT, Certified Zen-Tangle Teacher, Debbie New. She basically just came up with this wonderful little way to stylize a blueberry. So when I was looking at this, I thought, oh, this is getting really botanical for me. It will take you about 30 seconds to a minute to learn. So I wanted to combine that with the flux pattern that we recently did a tutorial on, and also show you a little bit about color layering. Let's shade this, let's color it like I would a blueberry as a botanical illustrator. So I'm going to share that mini color layering class with you today, because that makes all of your work a lot richer and a lot more interesting, and you'll see why. Okay, so let's get started. Today I don't have a lot of examples of my little moonberries to share with you because I only just started doing these with such delight that I can't wait to share it with you. Anyway, here are some of the little moonberry blueberries, and I brought some actual blueberries here to show you. As a botanical illustrator, we always like to have our specimen in front of us when we're drawing so we can refer to it. But I really especially wanted here to show you that the local color is what we're looking at here is like this deep indigo blue, right? That is what we consider local color, but we would never, as a botanical illustrator, go to our box of colored pencils and just grab blue indigo or indigo blue, depending on the colored pencil company you are carrying. And because if we just colored our blueberry straight up like that, it would just look like it was coming from a first grader's coloring book. You need to get to that color by layering it up to make it look lively and rich. As you can see here, you can see some other colors besides the local color shining through the berry. We have a little bit of Carmine or Venetian red, or if you have burnt Carmine, that works really well. We have black grape, we have the blue indigo, and then we have, for this bloom or this haze that is also called a glaucous coating, that comes on many fruits that we know, plums, grapes, and blueberries. We're going to be using white. So lots of different colors go into that one small area, and we can make it look quite realistic by layering our colors up. I did want to show you, yes, this is the local color, but if you take a blueberry and you cut it in half, look at the red inside. So we're really not off base by layering up our colors with that same type of red underneath the base that you are going to finally see at the end. So today I'm going to be listing all of the materials on our description below, and I'm starting off with the Zen-tangle tile from the Zen-tangle company, just a little 3Z, because this will make the project go pretty quick. Okay, I'm going to begin my base drawing with the tangle. The tangle moonberry is so simple. All it is basically a circle. And I'm going to construct my composition here with 3 moonberries, and I'm going to tilt them in different directions, and I'm going to make them a little bit different sized each time. So with my 01 Micron pen from Sakura Black, I'm going to start with the visual center, and I'm just going to make a nice big moonberry. Take your time. And I'm going to place my little star opening which is nothing more than a 5-pointed star, just like we learned to make in school, like this. And then we're going to color that in dark, which you can see really is quite dark in a blueberry. It's a little bit larger there, but we're not done yet because we are going to add a little aura line, and I like to kind of round my aura line like that. And here is the Tangle Moonberry. How fun is that? I'm going to do another one, and as we know, overlap is always a great thing, so I'm going to build my other moonberry right off the back of this one so it's touching. This is going to be quite a bit smaller. Oh, I was going to change the direction of my orientation. I'll do that on the next one. And if you are having a problem with it being too small, you can get out your 005 Micron pen. Those are, notice how those are basically off center. You could put a center one if you're looking straight down on the blueberry, if it's not rolling around and tumbling around. So I'm going to put one sort of off to the center here. And we'll clean that up with our color. So we've got them rolling in different directions. I always like to do multiples of odd numbers, 3, you could do 5, but we're going to continue to tangle this, but we're going to tangle with our newly learned flux, Rick's flux. So I think I'm going to stop there with my flux leaves. I like to also kind of fill in those empty spaces, those interstices, with little perfs. And then I'm going to make a little frame just to give it sort of a polished, finished look. I'm going to do that little technique that we all learned from Annie Reiser, one of the best Zen-tangle teachers out there. Okay, you can go back and do some thick and thin on that. I'm looking at this as being my composition here. Maybe I'll put a little bit more flux just to lead your eye. And then of course, as Rick does on his flux, you can add those little dots or not. All right, so now we're ready to get coloring. Why don't we go ahead first and shade our flux leaves and our little perfs if you have big enough ones that you want to add some shading to. So I am going to use a 2B. This is my Tombow Mono. And I'm just going to start adding graphite in these little corners where it should be deep and dark. And then a little bit on the midrib, and we will pull those out as we did with our Rick's Flux with the Botanical Twist tutorial. I will link that tutorial below in the description box as well. If you haven't seen it, you can go take a look at that for a complete lesson on the flux. And my tortillion, remember, I like to blend it out so that we save a little bit of a halo and a little bit of a light on one side. On some of these larger perfs, I'm going to add a little bit of graphite to make them look spherical, and you don't have to do it to every one. Oops, I don't have any graphite on these. And then down here, even though we've already put some little perfs down there, I'm getting really dark in these areas, so we have a lot of contrast. So it really makes it look like those little moonberries are nested and stuck down in the foliage. And you can always lift if you need to. This got a little bit dark there. I do want you to see the little perfs, but not with the same level of tone as the others. So now we have a lot of tonal interest, right? We've got really dark darks and really light lights. And you always want to keep that in mind when you're shading. So I'm so tempted to do what we call in botanical illustration a grisaille, or an underpainting on these blueberries with my graphite or like a French gray. But today we're going to use that concept of layering up with the reds, the Carmine, burnt Carmine or the Venetian red, to give it that depth. So the first layer we're going to use is going to be this Venetian red. This is Faber Castell. I'm just choosing, I'm afraid I have a couple different types of colored pencils here because I just chose what I thought worked best right out of my box. So we want to always make this look like a sphere. And to do that, we always have a bit of a darker edge, and then it gets lighter towards where we want, where there could be a nice big highlight right here. I can see would be a nice highlight. And then we want to save out maybe a bit of a sliver of reflective light down here. And the rest of this can be pretty much all colored in like that. I have a very sharp tip, and I am going very lightly on my paper, as not to deteriorate the integrity of the paper. Next, I'm going to be using my black grape. This is a Prismacolor, and I'm going to be just layering right on top of that. So both of these have some red undertones, which will really help our blueberry look lively. Because when we get that indigo blue on it, it gets really, really dark. And we want it to show some some liveliness with our colors. We don't want it to be flat. And then with my Prismacolor Indigo Blue, I'm going to put that almost final layer on. Getting really dark on the edges. Lightening up as I go towards the center. And then right here where that little star opening is, you can get some really darks in the crevices there. So now we need to blend, and then we will get our glaucous coating going. And I've told you often before, you can blend in different ways. You can blend with white. In fact, we can do that here a little bit just to get, just to get this kind of more looking like a halo. In fact, I'm going to go on here with the white as well. And then we're going to blend with our solvent blender. I have my Copic solvent blender. It has a double point. The Prismacolor makes a really nice one as well. And I'm just going to very carefully hit it up with this solvent. And what that does, it's melding those colors together. The pigments are becoming one. You always want to have a piece of paper nearby that you can then wipe your blender off with so that you don't contaminate it. And if you've lost some of your pretty little burnt carmine or Venetian red, you can just go back over the top of that a little bit, bring that back out. And then we're going to do that all-important glaucous coating. This is that bloom, that haze that you see that really will make this look realistic. So just randomly add some white on top of your really darks. This is our highlight, right? So that's helping us believe that it's reflecting light and is shiny, which of course when you get the glaucous coating removed, that is very shiny. See that really high sheen light on there. And you can also bring back some of that blueberry. Just work it until you've got it looking how you want it. So blueberry number one, or moonberry number one, finished. Let's go on, and I'm going to do the same thing for the big one. I'm going to start out with my Venetian red. This is called our grisaille, our underpainting. So doesn't that already look pretty spherical before we get our darks on? Going on with my black grape. Carries through with that reddish undertone. I think black cherry would work as well. So I'm getting darker on the edges and lightening up as I come into the center. And notice that I'm using this elliptical circular stroke because this is a pretty small area. Lightly with a sharp tip. And why is it sharp? Because we need to get into the tooth of the paper without pressing really hard. And then we'll go on it with our Indigo Blue. It's so funny, the companies, the color pencil companies named their indigo a little differently. So this one is Prismacolor and it's Indigo Blue, and the other one is Blue Indigo, my Caran d'Ache that I had. Now I can't find it. I think I just put it away. And strangely enough, they're also very different in color. This is the Prismacolor Indigo Blue. This is the Caran d'Ache Blue Indigo. And believe it or not, this is also the Prismacolor Indigo Blue in the very thin. And I like to use that to get around these really kind of tiny areas. Makes the shading easier than with that bigger tip. But look how different those two are, strangely enough. So just because something says it's indigo blue doesn't mean it's exactly the same color in all of the colored pencil names. Okay, so I like using this one. I like the Prisma one. It's very buttery, smooth. You could almost burnish it down with this at this point. Now it's time to burnish. I'm going to use the other end. Get my paper here. And I'm trying not to really press a lot on the black ink, even though it is permanent and it should not bleed. If it's not dry, it could pick up, you know, could smear. I'm going to add a little bit more the black grape. It's getting a bit very bloomy, or blue. Of course, it is a blueberry, but I like these red undertones. And now for the glaucous coating. Kind of blend out that highlight. And there's Moonberry number 2. I'm going to go in here a little bit with the white. And then get really dark in these areas. Okay, one more time, and then you will be master of this. Gotta sharpen. There is our little moonberry triangle. So I did want to show you that there are other ways to do this. I think you can see pretty well that these berries have quite a bit more red undertone to them than these. And if you like that look, I used this one as the base Graphite, which is permanent Carmine, and this is a Faber Castell color. So that made those red tones even more prominent, which I think is really pretty. It makes them look like a juicy blueberry. These to me look a little bit more ripe and dried up, right? Not so much of the reds are showing through. So play around. You don't have to stick with my color combination, but do layer, right? Don't just take your one color and break it out, because it will not be as rich. So everyone, here is a sample of Rick's Flux with a botanical twist, like we did a couple tutorials ago, and I just added nesting moonberries amongst the leaves. So now you have a little bit of food for thought, and go get yourself a bowl of blueberries to look at while you play with this color laying technique. I will continue finessing mine until I get it just right. So have fun. Share on my Facebook page, my student Facebook page, what you've come up with, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye now. If you like these lunchtime tutorials, please give them a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I also invite you to check out my website for classes that I have scheduled, or to purchase my tangle tags for your favorite step outs. That's botangle.net. I'm leaving you with some other links too. Zentangle.com, where you can learn more about the Zen-tangle method from its founders, Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas. You can also visit their store there for a multitude of Zen-tangle paper tiles, tools, books, and kits. Tanglepatterns.com is that site I talk about, where you can explore hundreds of tangle patterns, read about them, and get the step out, which is basically the deconstruction of the pattern. And finally, if you'd like to share your beautiful results with me and my student community, please join Annie's Botangle Alumni Facebook page. We're a private group where we inspire each other with our work and offer tips and useful information about art and Zen-tangle.